Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to a Let's Play of the pre-release version of Pillars of Eternity. The game's not due to come out for a few days yet, as I am recording this, but I was lucky enough to get a preview copy, and I can play through the game. Now, I've already made a couple of videos explaining some of the game mechanics, as well as the character creation process, but at this point, I'm actually going to go and play the game. Obviously, there are going to be spoilers here. In the other two videos, there are basically no spoilers at all, because we're just talking about, yeah, the actual gameplay mechanics and the classes and the races and whatnot, but now we are going to be playing the game, so obviously there's going to be some spoilers. In terms of pre-release, I'm only allowed to Let's Play up until a certain point, which might still result about 15 hours of gameplay here, so I suspect that we will not hit that limit before the release of the game. Now, I don't usually Let's Play these sorts of games. I'm doing it because, A, I'm really excited for Pillars of Eternity, because it is really sort of a throwback to the old Infinity Engine titles, things like Baldur's Gate, Planescape, Torment, and Icewind Dale, and in fact, it's made by a lot of the same people. It was kickstarted as a project to sort of make a new version of these types of games. It is in its own settings. It's not Dungeons & Dragons. It's got its own rule set. But anyone who's played those sorts of titles will feel very, very familiar here, and I'm really excited to be playing it. The other thing, too, is I've got a bit of a scratchy throat right now, so I'm actually going to not do what I normally do in terms of talking continuously like I'm doing now, and I'm going to try to let a lot of the gameplay sort of live on its own while I just mostly comment on a few key decisions. Because I have to rest my voice a little bit, but I still want to make videos and I want to play games. Let's go ahead and take a look at the option screen here, make sure I've got everything set the way that I want it. Excuse me. At the start of the game, I'm actually going to go ahead and enable this Show Personality Reputation option. I'm going to disable it probably as we go forward, but I really want to show off that that game mechanic is actually in place. I think I'm going to have everything turned on. Everything else, that's going to be alright. Controls are good. My auto pause settings, I like that. Just pause when combat starts. I like that pretty good. And a little bit of an extra pause at low health because it's a good emergency thing. And whenever we spot a trap, I like that. Graphics are set pretty much where I want it. Hopefully the font's going to look appropriately big on the on YouTube. And the sound levels, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, let's go ahead and start a new game. We're going to be playing on normal difficulty. We're not going to be running expert mode or Trial of Iron here because, well, I'm not a masochist, and also Trial of Iron might be particularly rough for this video here. But if in case you don't know, Trial of Iron makes it so that you only have one save file, and if the main character is killed, the file gets deleted. GG, game over. Expert mode just turns off a lot of the helper functions, but I like the helper functions. To me, it's quality of life stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let the intro play out here while I mute the microphone. May only cast spells that are in their equipped grimoire. Additional grimoires may be placed in the wizard's quick slots to switch in combat, but the wizard will be unable to access new spells for several seconds. Very cool mechanic, actually. Now, I've been trying to think very much about what kind of character I might want to make, and while I am generally I like playing wizards, I like playing spellcasters a lot, I happen to know from dabbling a little bit that we will be running into a wizard NPC relatively early, so I will probably not do that. Oh, hold on.
Starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern, his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Kind of a classic start, I think, to an adventure. We're going to get dumped into the character creation process now. So as I was saying, I'm quite keen on the Druid. I like the versatility that class brings. They can really actually be a very competent frontline fighter, as well as bringing a lot of spell casting to the forefront. You know, less healing maybe than a priest, and maybe less direct damage than a wizard, but sort of fills a role in between, which is quite good. And what I like about the idea is that way I can sort of surround myself with the rest of my party. Basically any kind of composition will work, and I'll just sort of fill in the gaps over there. And I think that would also be quite a bit of fun to play. But just, you know, very quickly, the races, we did go through the character creation video. Again, that'll be linked down below, hopefully. But we've got human, we've got the Amawa, some sort of aquatic, very strong warrior race, dwarfs, elf, Orlan, little short woodsy people, and these weird godlikes that come in 4 different varieties. And in addition to that, we've got 11 classes to choose from. There's always an appeal to me in these sorts of games to play like a fighter or paladin, just because you tend to find really, really cool gear, and I would love to be decked out in the shiniest of all possible weapons and armor, and that would be pretty neat. It might be really fun, for example, to play a paladin, especially since the paladin has 5 different orders to choose from. They all have like a different sort of personality attached to them that you want to follow to maximize their abilities. So, for example, the Gold Pack Knights want to be stoic and rational, and they don't want to be passionate or aggressive. The Darkosi Paladini want to be passionate and clever, but they don't like cruel and stoic. What's interesting is that they don't actually care if you're benevolent or not, as long as you're not cruel. That's what starts to matter. However, I suspect that at some point through adventuring, we will probably find some priests or paladins, and we may or may not have the compatible dispositions. I don't know. There's something. It's kind of cool, actually. You know, they're pretty tough, they're tanky, we could go up to the front and just spend a lot of time smashing face, as well as having the Faith and Conviction, which gives us more bonuses. So I think Paladins are probably the most uberest of tanks. Might be fun to do a lot of damage as a Barbarian too. Yeah, you know, I'm going to go ahead and stick to playing the Druid. Now, I haven't decided what I'm going to play, male or female. Both have a lot of possibilities. If I went something like a male elf, I could do something that reminds me a little bit of a character I used to play in World of Warcraft, or still playing in World of Warcraft. That might be a thing. I kind of like the look that's going on here. Stat-wise, as a druid, you've got a few different options. If you want to focus really heavily on the spell casting, a lot of intellect helps. Certainly, if you're using damage spells, then also might will help as well. But if you want to be like a melee DPS, you know, turn into your bear form and just beat on people, then quite a lot of might. So ultimately, I think as a druid, all the stats are relatively helpful, and I don't think there's any bad pick necessarily. The godlikes are really cool. They can't wear helmets, but other than that, they've got some really neat extra abilities. I think I'm going to go for a human druid. I've got the idea of sort of maybe like a bit of a hermit type person, sort of the grizzly old man that lives in the woods, like maybe literally a grizzly that lives in the woods, always been a bit of an outsider in terms of society. I'm not sure why I would have joined this caravan to go to this new area. Why did I leave my previous home? I'm not sure. Let's try to figure it out as we go along. There's 3 different subraces for humans. They all have the exact same combat ability. All the other races, their sub-races, have slightly different combat abilities, but there's some background here. So we can come from the most common humans in Direwood. The Meadowfolk, or Thurtons, have lived in that area for almost 2,000 years. Meadowfolk traditionally live at the edges of elven forests, working the open plains, hence their name. Most humans in the Direwood are Thurton. That might make the most sense, I think. There's the Ocean Folk, originated near the equator, other side of the globe. Not so much. Savannah folk, originally south of the equator, and with the exception of some groups that migrated north, have remained in the same location for over 10,000 years. The name Natlan literally means original, while quite common in Reedsurus. Savannah folks are not... No, I think I'm going to go meadow folk. I like that idea. You know, maybe originally from a farming community, but I took to the woods. Maybe a bit more of a huntery type background. Yeah, we'll take the druid. We got to pick the shapeshift that we want to use. All the shapeshifts are actually relatively similar. Don't be fooled by some of the description here, like the stag spirit shift has higher defenses, at least at level 1. Maybe there's talents later on that will let you emphasize some of those traits a little bit more. But at level 1, they all have higher defenses than, say, your normal human form, for example. Their hide is like really, really, really good armor, but without the recovery speed penalty. They all have the exact same claw attacks, but then they've got one little twist that makes them different. For example, the stag has this carnage attack that lets them do area of effect damage basically with their melees. The wolf has a trip attack. The cat has a once per day ability to get a big speed boost to its attack rate. The boar is a little bit different in that it doesn't have an activated ability, but its attacks do bleed damage, and also it actually naturally regenerates hit points, which is pretty goddamn tempting, except that I don't think I want to be a boar. The bear whereas everyone else has a damage reduction of 8 with their hide form, the bear has a damage reduction of 10, so it's quite a bit tougher. And it has a roar that can terrify people, gives them the frightened status, which lowers their accuracy. And I'm kind of tempted to do the bear thing. You know, like that character from The Hobbit or you know, something like that. I don't know. I also like the versatility that it brings. I can stand back and do a lot of spell casting, but if I need to, if I'm starting to get engaged, I can drop to bear form and be tough. Although, it's worth noting, you can keep casting spells when you're in your shape-shifted form, so you could just go into bear form as your very first action in every single combat, and then just sit there casting spells. And I think it's quite cool. Either the bear or the boar as a way to increase my toughness. That way I can sort of sacrifice a little bit more resilience and constitution, like that sort of thing. So we'll go with the bear. Bears are cool. Worth noting that in none of these cases do you actually shapeshift into the animal itself. You sort of turn into like a were-bear, were-cat, werewolf kind of looking form. Alright, here's our attributes. It suggests that might and intellect are our most important stats, and then resolve is also relatively important. Resolve will give us more concentration, which makes it harder for our spells to be interrupted, which is very good because spells are quite slow and getting them interrupted is a big pain in the ass. As well as more deflection and will defense. I mean, all of these I think give you a boost to some defense. Fortitude, reflex, will, and will. There we go. Yeah, so more intellect means that your spells will be bigger, and if they've got some sort of buff or debuff, they will last longer. Not just spells, but any ability that you might use. For example, when I'm in my bear form and use my roar, it will terrify people for longer and have a bigger area of effect. Intellect is very nice. Might increases your damage output, as well as healing. So that's from both melee and also from spells, I believe. So if we went and dumped all our points, say, into might and intellect like this. I mean, we could even go and take some points off of somewhere else if we wanted. So 18 is as high as we can go for intellect, 19 for might because we do get the +1. I think we got a +1 to resolve from our race, so technically we could bring that up to 19 or something. There's no breakpoints. There's no like, oh, you don't want to stop at 17, you want to go to 18 all the time. It's not like the D&D rule set. Every point does exactly the same benefit. So this is really straightforward, and we'd be relying on the fact that, again, we're tougher in bear form, so we're going to just accept the fact that we have less constitution, and we're not as tanky as we could be. If we take a look at the constitution, it gives us 3% more endurance and health. Endurance is your in-combat hit points, basically, and health is your more long-term hit points, which, you know, it's pretty good. I also don't know like how your equipment fades in and out for combat. I know it replaces your weapon and your hide. I don't know if the remainder of your equipment still stays active in bear form, which might be kind of important to consider. Usually one of my rules of thumb is just like more hit points all the time. You know, in like D&D, it's like all my characters have a constitution of like 14, generally speaking, just because toughness is good. Dexterity is really good for increased action speed. That affects spells and combat. It's actually really, really good. Perception is good if you're going to do an interrupt-based thing, plus give you more deflection. I think we can definitely make do with less perception. The other thing to note is your stats do occasionally show up in conversations. So you can use a high stat in some field to help resolve a conversation somewhere. And I'm actually not sure that I want to be, you know, or I'm the big, strong, scary guy. But I guess it could just, you know, I guess it's just I'm intimidating is one of the things. I like the idea of having high resolve for high force of will to sort of freak people out, which might be good. What I think I'm going to do is pull back just a little on those stats, put at least a couple points in resolve just to help with the concentration so I don't get interrupted quite as much. Also, the deflection is not bad. Deflection protects you against anything that is a direct attack against you, melee or range, but not area effect. Although my will save is going to be pretty good. My fortitude is going to be pretty good. What we don't have is a boost to reflex. You know, we could just do something like this, get a little bit of an action boost, and get a little bit of a boost to our reflex as well. It's tough. It's really tough to decide what's the appropriate thing here. I think I'm going to go with this, actually. I think I'm going to be happy with it. None of your weapons, like whether you use ranged or melee, are tied to any stats whatsoever. You do still, you know, there's a trade-off. Might will make you do more damage regardless of what weapon you use. Dexterity will let you attack faster, which is really good. Perception will help you interrupt people a lot better, which is kind of cool. I think we'll go with this and we'll stop stressing about it. You get slightly more points based on what culture you end up choosing right at the very end here. Oh, it actually already factored in the, that's where the extra +1 was going to my resolve, because it was defaulting to the Adir culture. So Adir Empire, currently largest, most powerful, centered around the equator. Empire's colonies, numerous areas, greater Adir is its heart. Lots of people from there, but I don't know. Deadfire Archipelago. Lawless pirate-infested islands. I don't think that's the theme we want. I'm not even looking at the stats. The Ishmael Plains? I don't know. Northeast of some place. I don't know the world yet. Fertile savannas, extensively farmed by humans and Orlan residents. One of the oldest civilizations or cultures in the world. Well, that might work. Keeps our resolve at 10. Old Valea. Once the crown jewel in the southern seas, crumbled remains of an empire warring merchant nations. No, I don't think so. This is a coastal place. I don't think that's the right feel. The Living Lands is the mountainous regions of a large northern island renowned for its diversity of plant and animal life. Its weather is unpredictable. Its ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. The Living Lands are home to an assortment of races in a variety of colonial and independent settlements. See, that might work. And then there's the White That Wends. A large, cracked, southern expanse of polar ice. The White That Wends is home to pale elves and small colonies of daring explorers and outcasts and adventurers. I'm going to go with the Living Land. I think it makes sense. Yeah. So from a group of colonists that went to a mountainous, crazy area, and I don't know, the woods called to me, and I became a bear. Or something. So, my background, finally. The Living Lands colonists. You were part of a group that founded a fledgling colony in a distant land. Okay. Gives us a bonus to survival, which gives us a better effect from food and potions that we find. Plus, there's options. There's the Explorer one, which also might fit really, really well. Siren Call of the Horizon, irresistible. You cannot help but wonder what lies beyond the next hill or wave. That makes some sense. Laborer, I don't know, not so much, maybe. Merchant, no. Drifter, never quite fit in no matter where you go. Each new town is just a place to rest briefly before moving on to the next. You are more comfortable on the road, traveling the world. That can make a lot of sense. We sort of be a nomad. The Hunter, thrill of the chase, glorious sustenance, made their living taking the lives of wild creatures. The flavor is not exactly what I'm looking for. I don't think the mercenary is going to fit for us. I don't think the scientist is quite right either. So colonist, explorer, drifter, maybe hunter, all sort of fit. I'm going to go with drifter. You know, I'm not really comfortable maybe in the world of men necessarily, but, you know, it's nice to get a bath from time to time. So I stop into a town, I do things, and it's back into the wilderness maybe. All right, we'll go with something like that. And then finally I can change my look. You can set facial hair. I mean, I suppose a big beard or something like that might be appropriate with the sort of thing we're going for, but I don't know. I kind of like this clean-shaven look. I thought that was maybe pretty decent. We've got a couple of faces to choose from. Thicker jaw. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave a lot of these things as the default, because this is sort of how I pictured him right from the start. Oh, I kind of like that's not bad. I think that's what we had to start off with. Just big crazy hair, that's not what I want. No. So it's either 9 or 14, I think. I'm gonna go with 9. Sort of, you know, maybe his hair is a little greasy, he keeps it, you know, pushed back a lot. Just out of his face, very functional. He looks a little bit more intense like this, and I think that's what I like. We can change his skin color and hair color, but I don't know. Primary and secondary colors, brown certainly seems to fit a lot. Although, I mean, we could go with some dark greens in places. but I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit dull, but I think the natural brown colors, the natural undyed fabrics, makes the most amount of sense for this guy. Unfortunately, we're going to need a name soon. Oh, that portrait probably fits pretty well. Let's go to number 1 over here. So all the portraits in the game are in the same folder. So every race, every gender. You can also add your own if you would like. Let's see if we can find one that fits. Doesn't have to be a true human one. So that's the default. It's not bad. That's number 18, which I seem to like for some reason. Nope, too wild. It's not an awful fit, actually. Just cover his head like that? Maybe. Alright. I think... we might leave the default portrait. I know. Unless this is like mid-shifting to his bear form. I mean, I could change the skin color to match this a little bit more too. But there's definitely like a bit of a vibe. I don't know. You know what? I like the, this guy just looks like a guy who's a little bit tired. He's been on the road a lot. The hair doesn't quite match, and we don't have the beard, but it's going to be fine enough. Oh, we get to choose the voice, right.
What is it? Now I am the leader of the group. Keeping an eye out.
It's not bad. I mean, I don't agree necessarily with Sinister, but that sort of growly, I don't play well with others kind of voice.
Yes. Now I am the leader of the group. Steady does it. Huh? Follow me. Steady does it. Huh? Follow me.
Stoic might work.
Let's keep quiet.
I'm here. I've got this.
Sharp eyes and keen ears.
Sinister or Stoic?
Now I am the leader of the group. Keeping an eye out.
Sounds more like a growly bear with Sinister, and I like that. Okay, so we're going to go with, he's going to be named Delures, which means of the bear. It's a name he gave himself. There we are. Delures, level 1 Druid. Let's get this started. The Gilded Vale. Of course, as we remember from the opening text, we are somewhat ill right now. Caravan Master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there. Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who'd be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood? Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day.
Well, that's good.
There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry. About the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
Nice talking to Sparful. So we can ask some questions. What I'm going to do is go ahead and put a cut in this video at this point. I hope you're enjoying this new Let's Play series, and please let me know if you like or don't like something in the comments down below. And I will see you guys next time with the next episode of our Let's Play of the Pillars of Eternity preview. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.